Welcome to our deep dive. We're taking a look at numerology, specifically as it's explored in this book, The Secret Science of Numerology. And we're going to be unpacking a lot of really interesting ideas here.
Yeah, this book is it's really fascinating. I mean, it goes into some pretty deep concepts.
Right, like the whole idea that numbers aren't just quantities, but like vibrations with meanings, and those meanings tie into letters and the Kabbalah, even scientific principles.
Yeah, it's amazing how it brings all these seemingly disparate things together.
It really is. So are you ready to dive in?
Absolutely, let's do it.
Okay, great. So
Yeah.
one of the things that really struck me was like how the book connects numerology to actual like scientific concepts, like the law of octaves, for example. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah, that's that thing with the musical notes, right? How they repeat in octaves.
Exactly. Like you have the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do scale,
Yeah.
and then it starts all over again. But what's really interesting is that the book points out that elements in the periodic table, the one from chemistry class, they also show recurring properties in groups of 8.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's right. Like a repeating pattern of 8.
Exactly, the
Yeah.
octave. And so the book is suggesting that this points to a kind of universal harmony. Like that same pattern exists not just in sound, but also in like the building blocks of matter.
Wow, that's pretty mind-blowing when you think about it.
It really is. It's like there's this underlying structure to the universe that's based on these numerical vibrations, and it gets even crazier.
Well, there's more.
Oh, yeah. The book even goes on to talk about how each planet emits a unique sound, like a musical note based on its orbital frequency.
Wait, so you're saying the planets are making music?
That's exactly what the book is saying. It's like the universe is this grand symphony, and each planet is playing its own, like, note.
I mean, that makes a certain kind of poetic sense. But is there any scientific basis for that?
Well, the book doesn't go into, like, super detailed scientific explanations, but it's definitely a thought-provoking concept, right? I mean, it makes you wonder.
For sure. Like, if everything is interconnected through these vibrations, then maybe by understanding like the numerical vibrations of our own birth date, we could potentially find deeper connections to certain planets.
Or even understand our life's purpose better.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like maybe it's all written in the stars, literally.
We'll have to explore that more later. But first, there's something else I wanted to talk about. The book dives into Hebrew letters, which are also numbers. Each one holds a specific meaning.
Oh yeah, that part was really fascinating. It's like a whole other layer of symbolism.
Totally. Like, for instance, the book talks about the Hebrew letter mem. That's the one that represents the letter M. And it symbolizes, like, water, the source of life. And it's kind of crazy how that letter connects to the word for mother in all these different languages.
Oh wow, that's true. Like mutter in German, madre in Spanish.
Yeah. It's almost like an echo from, like, some forgotten language, this primal connection that goes beyond, like, cultural boundaries.
That's really cool.
And speaking of connections, did you read about the author's little anecdote about how she discovered the link between the Hebrew letter aleph, which is represented by an octet, and the concept of reproduction?
Oh yeah, with the t-shirt.
Yes. So she was like really struggling to grasp the symbolic meaning of this ox head, trying to figure out what it had to do with reproduction.
And then boom, she sees this t-shirt.
Right, with an ox head on it. And she realizes that the horns looked exactly like fallopian tubes.
It's like the universe was just waiting for the right moment to reveal that connection.
I don't know. Talk about a light bulb moment.
Coolly.
So it really makes you wonder, right? Like, what other hidden meanings are out there just waiting to be discovered?
I think it's probably a lot more than we realize.
I agree. Now, moving on, the book also delves into the world of Pythagoras.
Oh yes, the famous mathematician.
Right. He's often associated with numerology, but he wasn't actually like the father of numerology, as some people believe.
Oh, that's interesting. So he was more like...
More like he played a significant role in popularizing the idea that numbers are like fundamental to understanding the universe. And one of the key symbols that comes from the Pythagorean school of thought is the tetractys.
The what now?
The tetractys. It's this triangular arrangement of 10 dots. And for the Pythagoreans, it represented the like harmony of the cosmos. But this book goes even deeper and suggests that it also symbolizes a balance between the physical and spiritual realms.
Oh, I see. Like how?
Well, it points out that within the tetractys, there are 4 numbers that symbolize the physical world: earth, air, fire, and water. And then 4 that represent the spiritual realm.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So what about the other 2?
Good question. So the number 5, the pentad, sits right in the middle. And the book says that it acts as the balancing point between those two worlds.
Whoa, that's deep.
Right. It's almost like a blueprint for finding like inner harmony. You need both the material and the spiritual to be whole, just like the Tetractes demonstrates.
Makes you think, huh?
It really does. Okay, now shifting gears a bit, let's talk about another pretty intricate system, the Kabbalah.
The Kabbalah. Oh, you mean that system of Jewish mysticism?
Yes, it actually has deep ties to numerology, which the book explores in some detail.
Oh, I'm curious to hear about that. What does it say?
Well, one thing I found particularly interesting is how it connects the Kabbalah's tree of life to personal challenges. You familiar with the tree of life?
Vaguely. Isn't
Yeah.
it like a diagram with all these different spheres or something?
Right. It's got 10 spheres called Sephiroth, and each one represents a different aspect of creation. But what the book suggests is that each Sephira also relates to specific challenges we face in life, like overcoming fear or finding your voice, things like that.
So instead of just explaining, like, the theoretical side of the Kabbalah, it gives you a more practical application, like a way to actually use this ancient wisdom to understand and maybe even navigate your own personal struggles.
Exactly. And that's something this book does really well in general. It takes these ancient concepts and makes them relevant to our modern lives.
I like that. It's not just some dusty old philosophy book, you know?
Right. It's about connecting the dots between the ancient and the modern. And speaking of making connections, the book also delves into a topic that I know you find fascinating: the power of thoughts and words.
Oh, absolutely. I'm always up for a good discussion on that. What does the book have to say about it?
Well, for starters, it presents this idea that our thoughts are actually energy and that this energy has a measurable vibration. Isn't that mind-blowing?
Yeah, it's something I've always believed, but it's wild to think that there might be scientific evidence for it.
Well, the book gives this example of scientists who were able to record actual chest movements that corresponded to specific types of thoughts. So it's like our bodies are physically reacting to the energy of our thoughts even before we speak them aloud.
Wow, that's fascinating. So we're literally vibrating differently depending on what we're thinking.
It seems that way, and of course this ties into the power of the spoken word, because
Yeah.
words are just outward expressions of those thoughts, right? So they carry that same vibrational energy.
Right, so it's not just what you say, it's how you say it. And even what you think before you say it.
Exactly. And the book actually quotes a verse, "For by your words you shall be found guilty," to emphasize the point that our words have real weight and consequence.
Yeah, that's powerful. It really makes you think twice about what you're putting out there, both with your words and your thoughts.
Totally. And it's especially relevant in today's world where everything we say and do can be amplified online. Now, before we move on to like personal numerology, I wanted to address something that's probably on everyone's mind: the number 666.
Ah, yes. The infamous mark of the beast. That always gets people talking. What's the book's take on that?
Well, it actually takes a different approach. Instead of seeing it as like a literal mark or, some individual person, it suggests that 666 actually represents the like lower material nature of humanity. It's about our tendency to get caught up in the physical world and lose sight of our spiritual essence.
That's interesting. It's more of a symbolic representation of a certain way of being then.
Right. And it's interesting to think about it in the context of the number 6, which is often associated with like the physical world, the womb and the knowledge of good and evil.
So like 666 is almost like a warning sign then. A reminder to stay balanced and not become too consumed by material pursuits.
Exactly. It's a call to transcend our like lower nature and embrace our higher selves. It suggests that the real beast might not be some external force, but rather like the untamed aspects of our own inner nature.
That's deep and a bit unsettling, if I'm being honest.
I know, it definitely gives you something to think about, but in a good way, I think. It's a reminder that we all have the potential for both darkness and light within us, and that numerology can help us to understand and navigate that duality.
Right. It's about using these numbers as tools for self-awareness and growth.
Exactly. And that's a perfect segue into the next part of our deep dive, where we'll explore how numerology can be used to like gain deeper self-knowledge and navigate life's challenges.
Sounds good. I'm ready for more numerological revelations.
Okay, so welcome back to our deep dive into the secret science of numerology. If you just joined us, we spent the last part uncovering how numbers can resonate like musical notes. We talked about hidden meanings in words and how our very names hold a blueprint to our potential. But now, let's get really practical, okay?
Yeah, let's talk about how we can actually use this stuff.
Exactly. So one of the things that really stood out to me was the book's approach to analyzing like words using numerology. It goes beyond just like assigning a number to each letter, you know?
Right. It's more about like the deeper meaning and the connections.
Exactly. And there was this one example that really clicked for me. Do you remember the part where it breaks down the word art?
Oh yeah, using the Hebrew numerology, right?
Yeah. So like when you add the individual values of A, R, and T, you get the full number 39.
Which reduces to 3, right?
Exactly. 3. And what's so cool is how the book interprets this. Like the full number 39, it says that points to a source of divine creativity represented by the number 3, the Trinity.
Ah, I see. And the 9 represents universal love. It's like art is born from this wellspring of love.
Right. And then the root number, the 3, it connects back to the concept of artistic expression itself. So it's like the numbers themselves are painting a picture of the creative process.
Pretty cool, huh?
It really is. And it makes you wonder, are there like hidden messages embedded within all words waiting to be like, decoded through numerology?
Could be, but let's not get too carried away with just words for now. The book also talks about, the dual nature of numbers.
Ah, yes. This is important. It's the idea that each number has both positive and negative expressions.
Right. It's not as simple as good numbers and bad numbers.
Exactly. And the example it gives is the number 20, which is often associated with like diplomacy and the ability to see both sides of a situation. So on the positive side, people with a strong 20 in their numerology chart might be excellent mediators.
Yeah, peacemakers.
Right. But then on the flip side, a negative expression of 20 could manifest as indecisiveness.
Or even like being overly sensitive.
Right. So it's the same number, but it can show up in totally different ways depending on, the person and their level of self-awareness.
And this is where numerology gets really interesting, right? It's not just about, oh, this number means this. It's about understanding the nuances.
Exactly. It's not about judging a number as good or bad, but rather understanding its full spectrum. And then, like, figuring out how to navigate its potential challenges.
Like, it's a tool. Each number is a tool.
Ooh, I like that analogy. So it's up to us to learn how to use it wisely. Speaking of powerful numbers, the book also delves into master numbers. You know, those double-digit ones like 11, 22, and 33.
Ah, yes, the big guns. So what's the deal with these master numbers?
Well, they carry a heightened intensity and often indicate a person with a strong spiritual purpose, like a unique destiny. But they're not like a free pass to success.
Oh, for sure. Like great power, great responsibility, and all that.
Right, exactly. The book gives some insightful interpretations, like 11, the psychic master. It's associated with intuition and a deep connection to the subconscious, but it can also lead to isolation if not balanced.
Makes sense. You're super intuitive, but maybe not so grounded in the real world.
Yeah, and then there's 22, the master builder. This one's all about manifesting dreams into reality, but it demands a lot of responsibility and discipline. It's not just about having like grand visions.
You got to have the follow through.
Right. You have to have the practical skills and the perseverance to actually bring those visions to life.
Okay, what about 33?
33, the master teacher, represents a super profound level of compassion and a desire to uplift humanity. But this one can also lead to self-sacrifice and martyrdom.
Oh, if you're not careful with boundaries.
Exactly. So what's important to remember about master numbers is that they don't guarantee happiness or success. They represent a potential, like a calling to step into a bigger role.
To make a real difference in the world.
Yes. But that path often comes with unique challenges, and it requires like a deep level of self-mastery.
Okay, I think I get it. Master numbers, big potential, but got to do the work.
Exactly. Okay, enough about master numbers. Let's talk about something a bit more personal, shall we? Calculating our own numerological vibration.
All right, let's get into it. How do we do this?
Well, the book gives a pretty simple method for calculating your soul's urge number and your personality number using like the numerical values of the letters in your name.
Right. I think a lot of people are already familiar with that basic calculation.
Yeah.
But what's cool about this book is how it goes beyond just like, here's your number, here's what it means.
Yeah, it really dives into the interpretation of the numbers,
Yeah.
especially the soul's urge number.
Oh, yeah, that's the one that speaks to your deepest desires, right?
Exactly. And it's fascinating how the book connects that number to like career choices and your overall life path. For instance, a person with a soul's urge number of 7 might feel drawn to more solitary pursuits, like writing or research.
Whereas someone with a soul's urge number of 3 might crave like creative expression and thrive in a more social or performance-based field.
Right. It's like your soul's urge is guiding you toward the experiences that will bring you the most fulfillment.
It's like a compass pointing you in the right direction.
Exactly. And there's this other cool thing the book talks about. It's about the letters W and Y.
W and Y, what about them?
Well, they can be both vowels and consonants, right? And the book suggests calculating your soul's urge number twice, once with W and Y as vowels and once as consonants.
Oh, that's interesting. Why do that?
Because it can reveal, like, hidden depths. Sometimes it even shifts the entire vibration of the number and can reveal a greater sense of purpose.
So it's like having two different lenses to view your soul's urge, each one offering a slightly different perspective.
Exactly. And the example the book gives is Walt Disney. So when you calculate his soul's urge number using his full name, Walter Elias Disney, it suggests a strong desire for family and creative expression.
Okay, that makes sense. But what about when you use his shortened name?
Ah, that's where it gets interesting. When you just use Walt Disney, the soul's urge number shifts dramatically, and it reveals a grander vision, like a desire to build something truly extraordinary.
Wow. So it's like the change in his name actually reflected a shift in consciousness.
Yeah, like he stepped into his full potential as a master builder, you know? It's amazing how even subtle changes can have such a profound impact on our numerological blueprint. And speaking of blueprints, the book also delves into the inner guidance number.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one. That's the one you calculate using your full name.
Yeah.
And you can use it for meditation and decision-making.
Exactly. And this number is powerful because it connects to the Kabbalah's tree of life. Each number corresponds to a specific sephira, offering guidance and insight related to that aspect of creation.
Right. So if your inner guidance number is 1, you would connect with Kether, the crown, focusing on themes of will and divine purpose.
Right. And an inner guidance number of 8 would align you with Hod, splendor, encouraging you to cultivate discipline and focus.
It's like having a personalized roadmap for spiritual growth and decision-making.
Exactly. The book even gives specific techniques for meditating on your inner guidance number.
Like what?
Well, it suggests visualizing the colors and symbols associated with your number, chanting the corresponding Hebrew letter, or even just holding the intention to connect with the wisdom of that particular sephira.
Interesting. So it's about using those different modalities to really tap into the energy of the number.
Yeah. And what I found particularly interesting was the emphasis on paying attention to dreams and synchronicities.
Yes. The universe is always talking to us.
Right. The book suggests that these can be powerful messages from our higher self, offering guidance that's tailored to our specific needs.
So it's about learning to recognize the subtle ways in which the universe is communicating with us. And then numerology can help us to decipher those messages and make choices that are more aligned with our true path.
Okay, switching gears again. Let's revisit the book's approach to word analysis. Remember how we were talking about finding hidden meanings in words?
Yeah, like art equals 3.
Right. Well, the book encourages us to look beyond just the numerical value and really explore the deeper symbolism and the connections between words.
Give me an example.
So it suggests that words with the same numerical value often share a deeper connection or a similar energetic vibration. It's like the numbers are acting as this code, revealing the hidden relationships between concepts and ideas.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. Like, words that vibrate at the same frequency might have a hidden connection.
Exactly. And the book even recommends looking up the tarot card that corresponds to the numerical value of a word, adding yet another layer of meaning. It's like using multiple tools to unlock the secrets of language.
That's cool. I love how it's all about connecting these different systems of knowledge.
Me too.
Yeah.
And this approach can be applied to anything that has a name. Your name, the names of people you're drawn to, businesses, locations. It's about understanding the underlying energy.
The potential.
Yes, of anything with a name. It's like numerology gives us X-ray vision.
I like that. X-ray vision. Seeing beyond the surface.
Right. It helps us to see beyond the surface and perceive the hidden essence of things. And that's what this deep dive is really all about. It's a deep dive into the power of numbers to reveal those hidden connections and to unlock that hidden potential within ourselves and, in the world around us.
There's so much more to numbers than we realize.
Right. It's just the beginning. Okay, so welcome back for the final part of our deep dive into the secret science of numerology. We've covered a lot of ground. We talked about numbers resonating like musical notes, hidden meanings in words, even how our names hold a blueprint to our potential. But the big question is, how do we use numerology in our everyday lives?
Yeah, how do we put this knowledge into practice?
Right. Well, the book offers some pretty insightful techniques, especially when it comes to using your inner guidance number. Remember that one, the one we calculate from our full birth name.
Right, for meditation and decision-making.
Mm,
And we talked about how it connects to the Kabbalah's tree of life, with each number corresponding to a specific sephira.
exactly. But what I found really interesting is how the book assigns like specific colors and shapes to each inner guidance number.
Oh yeah, it's not just about the number itself, it's about the energy it represents.
Right. So, for example, if your inner guidance number is 1, it's associated with white and a circle, symbolizing new beginnings, pure potential. And the book suggests, like, visualizing a bright white circle during meditation to promote clarity and focus.
I see. So it's like, instead of just focusing on the number one, you're giving your mind a visual anchor to work with.
Yeah, you're tapping into the energy of the number in a more, like, multi-sensory way. It's pretty cool. What about some other examples?
Well, if your inner guidance number is 2, which is linked to blue and a crescent moon, the book suggests meditating on, like a soothing blue crescent to enhance intuition and emotional awareness.
Oh, I love that. Each number has its own color and shape, providing a unique focus for your meditation practice. So it's not like the number itself is giving you direct answers, right?
No, not exactly.
It's more about using the number to tap into a certain energy that can help you to, like, trust your intuition and make decisions that are in alignment with your highest good.
Exactly. It's about understanding the qualities of your inner guidance number and letting those qualities inform your choices.
Right.
Like if you have a 4 as your inner guidance number, which represents stability and structure, you might approach a decision with a focus on long-term security.
Right. Whereas someone with a 5, which is all about freedom and change, might prioritize flexibility and new experiences.
Makes sense. So different numbers, different approaches.
Exactly. It's fascinating how numerology can provide such personalized guidance. And the book doesn't stop there. It also goes into this concept of auric circles, which I have to admit sounded a little woo-woo to me at first.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But the way it connects these auric circles to our numerology is actually pretty clever.
Okay, remind me, how do the circles work again?
So it describes these 3 interlocking circles of energy that make up our aura, each one linked to a key number from our numerology chart.
Oh, right. So like a visual representation of the different aspects of ourselves all working together.
Exactly. The first circle represents your soul's urge number, those deep desires we were talking about earlier. The second circle corresponds to your personality number. So that's like the outer self you present to the world. And the third circle represents your destiny number, the path you're ultimately meant to follow.
Oh, okay. So it's like your desires, your personality, and your destiny are all interconnected, constantly influencing each other.
Right. And the coolest part is, these circles aren't static. They change color and intensity based on our thoughts, emotions, and actions.
So if you're feeling stressed, your auric circles might appear muddy.
Yeah, dull. But when you're joyful and inspired, they radiate like bright, vibrant colors.
So our internal state is literally reflected in our energy field. That's like both empowering and kind of scary, isn't it?
It is. It means we have the power to shift our energy by consciously cultivating positive thoughts and actions.
Mm.
And when we do that, it strengthens our aura, which attracts more positive experiences into our lives.
It's like a feedback loop. I love how the book uses this beautiful metaphor of the dove of peace taking form within these auric circles. What does that mean exactly?
It's the idea that when your 3 auric circles are in harmony, when your desires, personality, and destiny are all aligned, this sense of peace emerges. And it's symbolized by a dove rising above the swirling energy of your aura.
Oh, I love that imagery. It's like a visual representation of finding that sweet spot in life where everything just like clicks into place.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what this book and numerology as a whole is really all about.
Yeah.
Helping you to understand yourself more deeply, to align with your true purpose so you can live a more fulfilling life.
Yeah. And this deep dive has been just that, an incredible journey, exploring not just what numbers mean, but how they can guide us. It's about recognizing the patterns, the synchronicities, like the universe is speaking to us through these numbers.
It is. And to all our listeners out there, I encourage you to start paying attention to the numbers in your own life. Explore the numerology of your name, your birth date, even the names of people you're drawn to. You might be surprised by what you discover.
Yeah, this deep dive is just the beginning. There's so much more to explore. But even with this little taste, you can start to see how numbers can be such a powerful tool for self-discovery and transformation.
Absolutely. Remember, the universe is always talking to us, often in really subtle ways. And numerology gives you a framework for understanding those messages.
And for living a more conscious, purposeful life.
Exactly.
And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one last thought. The book mentions that all knowledge can be classified into 50 gates of knowledge. So what mysteries might be unlocked if we could access those gates?
Something to ponder. Maybe you can find some answers through your own exploration of numerology.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep those numerical vibrations high.